What's going on, y'all? 5 Sports Talk back at it with another video talking some NFL here in the second part of my series for NFL division winners prediction video, talking about the NFC North now. So let us get right into it. So let's start with the Green Bay Packers, who won the division last season. And to be honest, this division is probably one of the weaker divisions in the NFL. And so for that reason, I don't see too much changing here in the standings, which means, yes, that is right. I have the Packers winning this division. So they didn't do too much in free agency in terms of adding to their weaknesses. They added to their strengths, which was their offense. They signed Martellus Bennett from the Patriots, so they have a dynamic tight end now, which they haven't had since Jermichael Finley, so that's good. And then after that, they also signed Lance Kendrick, so not just one, two tight ends from the Rams. And Lance Kendrick is pretty underrated. He's a pretty solid tight end. Sometimes, you know, he has trouble with drops, but overall, solid depth to their tight end spot, which is now a position of strength as opposed to before, which was, you know, kind of a position of weakness with Richard Rodgers, who's okay, nothing great. Of course, you still have all the weapons on the outside with Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Davante Adams, and of course you have Aaron Rodgers, and as long as you have him under center, you will be okay at worst, okay? But the other thing on the offense is they lost Eddie Lacy in their running game, so now they have Ty Montgomery, who is basically their starting running back, okay? So he might be, you know, one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL, because here's the thing. If the Packers are forced to throw all the time and Aaron Rodgers has to win the game all the time, then they're going to have some serious troubles this season. They needed somebody in the run game to sort of offset the amount of pressure that is on Aaron Rodgers. They did draft 3 running backs, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, Devontae Mays in the draft, but as far as how effective they can be, who knows? Defense is obviously a position on the other side of the ball that they were weak in. Their defense was atrocious last season. They drafted Kevin King in the draft, who will help. And overall, though, with their cornerbacks and their secondary, that's still a weakness for them. So for the Packers, it's basically status quo. They're going to win this division by default just because the other teams in this division are weak. Their offense is still high-powered, one of the best in the NFL, but their defense is horrible, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be asked to carry the load again. And I think he'll be able to take them to the playoffs and win this division, but who knows how much farther than they go than that. I have the Packers winning this division at 10-6. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings, who had a flaming hot start last season at 5-0, and then they completely flamed out after that and finished the season at 8-8. Everybody thought when they made that Sam Bradford trade and after that 5-0 start, they looked like geniuses, but then, of course, Sam Bradford turns back into Sam Bradford, okay? But then a lot of changes for the Vikings in the offseason. Their O-line was atrocious last season. They did address it a little bit with signing Riley Reif. They lost Adrian Peterson in free agency to the Saints, so now they have sort of a three-headed running attack, a three-headed monster. They signed Latavius Murray from the Raiders, who's okay. Not a huge fan of him, but he's solid. They drafted Dalvin Cook, who I think is going to be the starter by the end of the season, and they, of course, still have Jerick McKinnon. So sort of, you know, a three-headed running attack there. Who knows who's going to take over initially and who's going to be the starter there. And then Teddy Bridgewater, is he going to be back this season? That's a huge question mark for them. Or is Sam Bradford still going to be their quarterback for this season? And if it is Sam Bradford, then I think they're going to stay status quo. If it's Teddy Bridgewater and he's fully healthy, then I like their chances because they looked pretty good with Teddy Bridgewater the year before that. Their defense is, of course, still very strong. That is their strength. And so I think that'll win them enough games just based off their defense. And Sam Bradford just has to stay the hell out of the way and not make mistakes, which is what he kind of did before falling apart last season. So I have the Vikings finishing at 9-7 in this division. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions, who had a poor start to last season but finished strong. Matt Stafford really played well under that new OC, Jim Bob Cooter, so he took another step. But this season, I have the Lions taking a step back. They're always playing close to the edge. They're always in that playoff picture or not. This season, I don't see it. I know they upgraded their O-line with TJ Lang and Ricky Wagner, and they still have weapons with Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, and whatnot, but in terms of their running backs, I mean, they have Amir Abdullah, and it's sort of a mediocre offense all around. I like Matt Stafford. I don't love him, but like I said, they always play too close to the edge. I think this is the season where they just fall apart. I have them going 6-10. I don't think they're going to be very good this season just because I don't see too much talent on either side of the football. So I have the Vikings finishing third in this division at 6-10. And then finally, my team, the Chicago Bears. What do I think of the Bears? They finished 3-13 last season, which was an absolute disaster. They had the third pick in the NFL draft. They moved up to the number 2 pick, and they took their quarterback of the future, who they think is going to take them to the promised land, in Mitchell Trubisky. But they also signed Mike Glennon in free agency, and they also signed Mark Sanchez, Mr. Butt Fumble himself. So now they've got the depth chart looking like Mike Glennon. Believe it or not, Mark Sanchez is apparently second in the depth chart, and then Mitch Trubisky at third. But I have a feeling we will see Mitchell Trubisky by the end of the season. Just a hunch, okay? But the rest of the team, Jordan Howard is the clear lone stud on this roster as of right now. He had a monster season last year, and I think he's going to be their bell cow this season as well. They're going to feed him the football. The Bears have one of the worst wide receiving corps in the NFL. They've got so many third-string receivers. You're talking about Kevin White, who can't stay healthy to save his life. They signed Marcus Wheaton. They signed Victor Cruz. They signed Kendall Wright. So they have no number 1 receivers. They lost Alshon Jeffrey to the Eagles. So I don't see too much help for whoever plays quarterback. It's going to be Mike Glennon to start the year. But like I said, don't be surprised if you see Trubisky. Their tight ends I do like. They drafted Adam Shaheen. They signed Deion Sims. But overall, offense mediocre. Defense is decent. Interior line, linebacker core. Secondary is average. Not a big fan. So overall, still rebuilding for this Bears team. They still have a lot of work to do. I have them finishing the year at 5-11. A slight improvement from last season, but still a bottom feeder team for the Bears, who are going to go into another year rebuilding. But as long as they see progress from Mitch Trubisky or any of their young players, it'll be considered a success for them. So there you have it, folks. Those are my predictions for the NFC North. I have the Packers, I have the Vikings, I have the Lions, and then I have the Bears in that order of this division. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more NFL videos coming soon.